U.S. infrastructure challenges in the past. So what should our future look like? What would everybody aspire to? Almost 10,000 miles of new high-speed rail by 2020. World's largest, fastest, and most technologically sophisticated bullet trains in process. Extensive modern national highway systems. World leader in developing solar and wind technologies, building state-of-the-art water systems. According to our report, this is precisely what is going on in China right now. This is China's future. China outstrips the world in high-speed rail. Other countries like China are pulling away, literally. China spent $8 billion on high-speed rail in 2009 alone. Asian and European countries are expected to double high-speed rail capacity by 2019. Yet more than half of the $8 billion earmarked for high-speed rail in the United States is only to make our existing trains go from 80 to 90 miles an hour. In fact, it's not high-speed rail at all. So does this sound familiar? Volatile energy prices, credit gridlock, limitless needs, roads, rails, seaports, airports, water systems, power grids, weak project management, stymied plans to increase spending to replace or restore deteriorating infrastructure. Now, this probably all does sound familiar, and I know what you're thinking. Unfortunately, however, this is what our report highlights about Russia. So how about this? Over 25% of bridges structurally deficient, 4,000 dams deemed deficient, water usage double the global average, 122 high-risk levees, insufficient road, rail, and port capacity. Right? Any guesses? Just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, you guessed it. The U.S. continues to fall further and further behind on a global competitive basis. And the U.S. Stimulus is really just a drop in the bucket compared to what we really need in infrastructure. The American Society of Civil Engineers estimates that $2.2 trillion is needed in total infrastructure investment over the next 5 years. The last infrastructure report card we received in our country certainly wasn't something a mother would be proud of. Think about if you came home with this report card. Aviation, D. Dams, D. Drinking water, D-. Energy, D+. Roads, D. Transit, D. Certainly no milk and cookies in that household before bedtime, which we highlight in our report this year. There's no other infrastructure category that presents the U.S. with greater challenges than water. Most Americans assume drinkable tap water will always be available and give little thought to its quality or how it gets into their homes. Aging pipes, supply constraints, contamination threats, management, treatment, and waste all present major water issues. Right? Water scarcity is global. Water has become the new oil. The World Bank reports that 80 countries now have water shortages that threaten health and economies. 97.5% of the world's water is salt water. Only 2.5% is fresh water. Americans need to become less dependent on their cars, because maybe then we can live without oil, but we definitely cannot live without water. The U.S. water footprint is double the global average. The U.S. is the largest user of water on a gallons per capita basis. How do we use that water? Hey, right? The cartoon says it all. Okay? Full sink, running shower, large lawn being watered, right? You probably even think that this guy might have a running toilet as well. Water waste is a real issue. The U.S. suffers about 240,000 water make breaks a year. According to the American Society of Civil Engineers, the U.S. loses an average of 6 billion gallons per day of potable water due to leaky pipes, enough water to supply the entire state of California. ULI has conducted an extensive survey of 14 metropolitan areas and evaluated them for water infrastructure issues, including aging pipes, water supply, struggle with regional coordination and conservation programs. Think about the 120 million additional people by 2050. Many will be living in these cities, which are already significantly water challenged. Many more signs like this to come. Water is unfit for human consumption. About 40% of the world, more than 2 billion people, have no access to clean water or sanitation. 20% of the U.S. water treatment systems currently fail water drinking standards. Approximately 62 million Americans are exposed to drinking water that does not meet government health guidelines. So we laid out the problem. What do you do about it? What is a country to do? Conservation, right? Low flow showers, landscaping and use of drought-resistant vegetation, stormwater recapture, redirecting rain and roof water to storage and more usable purposes, water recycling, recycling gray water from sinks and showers. There's no free lunch. Somebody has to pay for all of this. We need to tie what people pay to the real cost and usage of infrastructure. We need a comprehensive framework like a national infrastructure bank to make merit-based decisions and help attract private sources of capital. Just like the real estate capital markets, we're delaying the inevitable. Delay and pray becomes delay and decay. Extend and pretend becomes repair and don't care. Taking action now is critical to our country's quality of life and our long-term economic viability. Copy of our infrastructure report, right, free, outside at the ULI bookstore. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening.